Welcome to the Insyte podcast, season 2, episode 2. And today we're going to continue the theme of talking about how to increase your conversion optimization or conversion rate. And today we're going to speak about how to do that through the best of the best AI sales agents on your e-commerce store. Ready to go, Seth?
Ready to dive in. Excited.
Maybe start us off and give everyone a bit of a description, what they're about, how to use them, and then we're going to obviously demo one for everyone.
So I think let me give the predecessor before the AI bots came out. So before everyone, and a lot of guys had it on, I don't actually know when they first released, but people always used to have, and they still do, lots of guys do, have predefined chatbots sitting on their website in the right corner. You go and you'll write a piece of text and it'll say, okay, these are your options. Or sometimes you don't even get the opportunity to write your own text. You have to choose one of their options, and it's a very forced and predetermined sequence that you're going to follow when you're on that website on how you can be assisted. It's like almost assisting your assistants, if that makes sense.
Got it. So you had sorry, go ahead.
Go for it.
No, so you pretty much had two options in the old days. You had, or three options. You had either no way for people to communicate outside their browsing the site, option one. Option two, you had what you're describing, I guess, is like a formulaic chatbot where it would greet you and say, do you want to speak to an agent? Do you want pricing? Whatever the case is. But you had you would almost predetermine the flow someone could go through, right?
Yes, and then I suppose the third option would be having someone sitting behind a computer answering all these messages.
Exactly, like a live chat WhatsApp thing. Exactly. And why were those no good, Seth? Why the move to AI super sales agents?
They are slow. People get frustrated when they go onto a normal chatbot and they can't get the answers they're looking for, or they're frustrated that it's taking time for a human to get back to them, and then they actually leave the browser because people's attention span, as we know, after the TikTokification of the internet happened, people's attention spans nowadays are milliseconds, and if they don't get a response or an indication that they're going to get a response, they're basically gone. So you've lost that customer. So hence the need for an instant reply. And that's where we've gone in and set up these automated ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini chatbots.
Maybe let's jump in and actually show people what they're about, and let's show the game. So I'm going to go to one that's the one we pretty much always show people. It's the first one we actually ever launched in the wild. And here it is on the bottom right. We called it the AI Super Shopping Assistant. And I think exactly what you were saying, Cedric, we touched on a little bit of in our last episode. Everyone obviously has an inherent need, every shopper, for self-service. Number one. Number two, they want instant answers. And the third thing, which I think is important, and I want to actually start with this example to show you that the problem with, even if those two things were met, so let's say in the old days you had someone behind a WhatsApp bot or behind a chat bot, and they were ready and willing to speak to everyone immediately. The problem is that that person was seldom the best salesperson you have in the business. And even when they were, it was impossible for them to have all the information in their head, and not only about your business, but about other businesses. And I'll show you an example. So what I mean by that is, so give me a cool brand of anything that particularly that this company doesn't sell. Let's go for
shopping. Let's go for Le Creuset, for example. I want something like Le Creuset, yes, but I can't afford Le Creuset.
Okay, fantastic. So just to kind of give some context, so this is obviously a kitchen shop. Like, there's lots of kitchen brands and that type of stuff. They particularly don't sell Le Creuset. So my point around there is that in the old days, you had a human ready immediately to respond to someone, and now someone said, well, I want Le Creuset, can you help me? That person may know Le Creuset, but they may not know Le Creuset, and then they get stuck. AI knows everything about everything, and they can make comparisons and so on.
Yeah. I have seen recently that Shopify has advanced their on-page chatbots. So you can actually go and AI generates your text for you, and then you approve it as it sends out. But there's still it's still slow, and it still requires that
Yes,
human element where you actually have to go in and make that communication. So you actually have to send that message. It doesn't send it for you like this. But it is
got it.
interesting that even Shopify itself is admitting that ChatGPT is better, or AI is
Got
better,
it.
should I say.
Interesting. So here's the example. Someone's looking for La Crusade. They can say, "Well, I don't really have La Crusade, but here's and it knows exactly what La Crusade is, which is why it's able to give a comparative product. So here they say, rather buy a style mug, and the nice thing, it gives us to a link to the product on the site, and then I can go continue my purchase and buy. And this is really the power that it's it has all the internet's information in its head. It then can direct people to through the purchasing journey. And I think the other thing which is pretty cool is that inherently, like, people are guarded when it comes to salespeople because that they know there's maybe like an ulterior motive. They want to get the sale. They might not have the consumer's best interest at heart. People are free to be and inherently like much freer when speaking to AI because they don't have to say please and thank you, and they can say whatever the case is. So like it's not uncommon for people to say, well, is style good or a cheap knockoff, right? Like let's go kind of aggressive, and you'll see how well. I mean, we've never typed this, so we don't really know, but you'll see how well AI will handle this thing. And here we go. It's actually a prestigious brand, and it goes through a thing, and it's not a knockoff. And this is where not only does it have more information than humans, it's for the most part got better salesmanship than any other humans. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, especially on the way you prompt it. Just as you were to write a ChatGPT prompt, hey, I need you to write ad copy for me, or you go, hey, you are an experienced ad copywriter with 10 years of experience. We go and we code and prompt these AI models with the same logic. We'll tell it that you are a sales rep. I need you to achieve X goal. Or for this one, this bot was trained on the model. You are a helpful assistant. I need you to make the customer's experience as memorable and as seamless as possible. So
100%.
essentially, it gives us the freedom as what we want out of it. We can code it and it can message people at scale how we'd like it to. And then even when it goes wrong, which sometimes it does, we're able in the back end to go and have a look at it and say, no, this was a problem. We'll make a correction. We can go and reach out to that client, say, sorry, there was an issue here. This is the right answer. But then what's even cooler is that because AI is self-learning, once we've made that correction, it will go and forever be corrected on that conversation. If ever there's a question that's asked in the same way or in a similar way, it will go and give the revised answer that we've gone and implemented. So very
And I think just
future.
to pick up on one thing you said there, which I think is so important, if you compare this to the old formulaic chatbots, where you almost used to give it the flow was created by a human thinking what was the optimal flow and how do what do users want and when do they want it. The difference with AI is, besides the fact, as you mentioned, you can train on someone's tonality, on what its end objective needs to be, but you can actually give it its end objective. So let's say try and encourage as many people to buy as possible, be as memorable an experience as possible, whatever the case is. So you can train it on what the end metric it needs to achieve is, and AI for the most part is better than humans at actually figuring out how to do that. So you don't have to give it its guidance. You just have to give it its guardrails, and it figures out pretty much the best way to meet that end goal.
Maybe let's dive in a little bit in the stats, Mikey. Like what have you seen? How have the results looked? Obviously, people are having a better experience on the website. What are the conversions looking like? Yeah,
Yeah,
you have it on the
yeah,
website today. You have it off the next day. Like, what's the conversion difference, or reverse that actually?
yeah. So I think it serves two purposes, and like the one can be seen in metrics, and the one can be felt. So the part that can be seen in the metrics, ideally, it must get a better conversion rate. Meaning that if your current site's conversion rate is 1%, and you can get enough people to engage with your AI agent, that like the ideal scenario you want to see out of that almost instantly, because you can train it pretty quickly, is if you can add another 10% or 20% in revenue overnight. I think that's what we're aiming for with these agents.
Yeah,
Um, the second part is like almost what you described in terms of like how you can train one of the bots like as a memorable experience. There's nothing you want people to want to use your site, and if your site has a feature like an AI agent that can just ask stuff, like they would a human, and be comfortable that the answers are not tainted, to push them to get a sale, but rather to kind of help them. I think it encourages people to come to your site more often and ask questions and shop ideally. What do you think? What are you seeing on the log? You've seen a bunch of logs in the back end of
Yeah.
these agents. What are people
I've
asking?
seen people asking what AI is creating this. Like I've seen that one quite as an often thread, which is quite nice to see. I've also seen some complaints where people have said that the bot guided them in the wrong direction, but not really too far off. Like maybe it gave them the wrong number, but then that's an easy correction to be made. But I've seen really good experiences where people are like, oh, I'm looking for a coffee mug for my dad. He likes coffee, or I'm looking for gifts for my dad. And I've seen lots of conversations like that where people know that they're on the right site because they trust it, but then they're actually a little bit confused with what they should actually get because either they're buying a gift, and I think it does inform guys a lot better because nowadays everyone's such an educated shopper. They can go to Google and search exactly what they want when they want it. It's the times when
Yeah.
guys aren't 100% certain what they're going to buy when they're going and they're doing that informational search. This then almost feeds the information, but then aids to the transactional side as well by going directly to the product. This is why you should buy it. And then almost filters in having that conversation, that back and forth of, I don't want it because it has X, but it does have X and it doesn't have Y. So it feeds that conversation, that back and forth, like a sales rep would, which you actually
Got it.
wouldn't traditionally get online unless you were to go into a store or you were able to chat to a person via a bot or via one of those chat integrations like Intercom.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. That one avenue or use case for it is to find stuff on the site quickly. It's almost like a super quick filter tool that I want to find a mug at this price, and it kind of just gives you the link. But the second part, which you speak about, I think is probably the more interesting part, where it's like people are asking for advice. So they're saying, I want a gift for X and XYZ person, and I want it between this and this price range, and they like cooking meat, and then it can give it actual guidance. So as opposed to just a filtering tool, it's a help tool, which I think is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Maybe let's chat a little bit about its application in lead generation, because that I'm quite excited about, is where it can be
yes,
used in lead gen flows, lead gen campaigns, landing pages. Let's dive in.
yeah. So this is it's so interesting speaking to people. I think this is where people are most excited about it. Although, like, I think it has a massive role to play on both, and I think very shortly you'll only see these on websites. But I think the more people, the excitement is far higher at the moment is around the lead gen side. So on an e-commerce site, it's there to facilitate the shopping purchase, the shopping journey, and the idea is that pretty much everyone that doesn't know what they want straight away will engage with this. And just one quick point before we move on to DJ, I think one thing you raised, the most common concern we have about this, that what if it gives people wrong information? Now, we can look through tons of logs, and I think if you're going to bet on the AI versus the human, I think most of the time you can bet on the AI giving it the right information and better salesmanship and better resources than a human. But it is still possible that it's going to give the wrong information. I think there's a lot of fear around that still. An important part is that that's why we always name them AR something, super agent, AR, super salesman, is that people know it's AR. That it's not the expectation that we're not setting the expectation. I think it's important that anyone that does something like this doesn't set the expectation that this is a human, and that people say, what is my returns policy? And I've never seen it get it wrong with this, as long as the website's information is right. But let's say it says it's 7 days to return and you only have 5 days to return. When it's an AR that's communicated this, I think it's people still going a little bit, with a pinch of salt, or with the eyes open, rather than saying it's 100%. The owner told me it's 5 days and not 7 days. So I think that is that
Yeah.
you have that
What's
excuse.
interesting? Yeah.
Yeah,
What's interesting is when it does get something wrong, the way that
yeah,
the AI model is trained, it's trained on your website. So it scans through every single page of your website, and then there's the availability to go and add any additional resources that you'd like to it as well. But if it picks up that there's any contact information on your page, whether you had that page and it's no longer published, it then picks up that you've put this
Yeah.
number down or this address, like say it was an old address and now that's just been turned off. Like it will scan through every single page. So I guess when setting it up, it is important just to check which ones are live and which ones aren't. But
Yeah.
it will historically go and have a look at everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it
that's a
does
great
also.
point.
Yeah,
When it gets it wrong, it's not because it's hallucinating, which AI is prone to do. We haven't seen these ever hallucinate, but it's using information which you've given it by virtue of the website. There was a client that I think it found an email address for the reservations that they didn't know existed, and someone asked for it. But and that's the thing you got to just be aware of. That's why it's important to kind of check through the logs. But
But
onto
it's
lead
also
gen
a good
questions.
opportunity, like when you notice it's picking up these things, is that then you can actually go back into your website and delete old pages and actually improve the speed of your site by not having too many old pages slowing down your website. So it's a good
100%.
idea.
So
Awesome.
onto
Let's go
lead
into
gen thing,
lead gen.
and this is where I think it's quite exciting that the way people communicate through lead gen historically are really through contact forms on the website. So there's a contact form, name, email, phone number, message, whatever the case is, and people fill that out, knowing, and I think everyone has had this experience, knowing that some companies will never respond to them, some companies will respond to them, but even the ones that do actually respond to people filling out lead forms seldom respond quickly. And the idea for AR and sales agents, particularly for this, to solve this problem, I think is amazing, and probably the most exciting part, where if you can get rid of the contact form altogether and replace it with an agent, which has all the information, which you've trained it, you've ingested it through whatever forms, and actually it avoids any need for any contact form to exist and a secondary meeting to have happened. Now, it doesn't mean that the AI will close the deal. There's still a lot of deals that humans need to assist in closing. But the idea and where we're seeing great application for this is actually getting the AI to really facilitate and filter out the bad leads from the good leads, and for the good leads to actually get them into a meeting as efficiently as possible. And in some cases, depending on the application, if there's a booking to be had, so for example, in the case of a spa or whatever, hairdresser, where they definitely doesn't need someone to be called back, or restaurant even, to kind of process a thing, this is where AI is amazing. That this can be happen in real time and no drop balls. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really facilitates answering all those questions and obviously collecting all of that information. I do like the idea of having it on the site. I would still, like, just my personal opinion is always to still have your contact numbers and still have your forms, because people unfortunately are just, because the industry has been the way that it has for the past 10, 20 years, where people have to fill out forms, they still expect to fill out forms. You're not going to change everyone overnight, but I think it's important to have it there to answer all the questions. But another thing that I've been quite excited about putting it on landing pages is your engagement rate. So normally when you have a landing page, guys hop onto your landing page, and some guys just skim through the page and they don't get the answers that they want, and then they go out of Google and then they go and research elsewhere. Where having a chatbot right on that site reduces your bounce rate and increases your engagement rate with the page over time. Therefore, when you're running ads, like Google ads, for example, and you're sending traffic to a landing page, they'll spend more time on that landing page. Therefore, your ad will perform better because your bounce rate is reduced and your landing page quality is better, provided that the AI bot that you have on there doesn't slow the page down significantly. I think it's got an exponential effect on your advertising as a whole. Even in your ad copy, go answer any question with our chatbot.
Yeah, I like that. One, it's also differentiator, and two, exactly, that's one of the things we're testing. That the problem of landing pages, specific lead gen built landing pages, is that there's only two outcomes. There's someone completing that contact form, or they're bouncing. And in the case of a landing page, most guys are bouncing because even if you're getting a 10% conversion rate, 90% of guys are bouncing. So we're testing this as a route to avoid bounces, get people the answers they want, but really drop our bounce rate, improve our quality score, particularly for Google Ads. Drop our, not to give all your magical secrets away, but
Yeah.
I think this is something pretty
No, I think
exciting.
it's important to give all of our magical secrets away. People need to know these magical secrets, and if they want to go
Yeah.
implement on their own, be my guest. But otherwise, we're
Yeah.
here to assist.
Last point on this, I think, if you ask any business owner which department, do they struggle to hire for the most in, and which one are they probably the least happy with, is almost always the sales. Because finding amazing salespeople that are amazing at admin, that are diligent to follow up, and are brilliant salespeople is like one in a gazillion. And the beauty of sales agents is that you can get that tomorrow. You can train them to be the best of the best, because they already have all the knowledge. They already have all the sales techniques that you can access. You can kind of give it its guidance which ones you want to push on, and you can train it in literally a few minutes, and they never leave you. So I think it's for lead
Or at least
gen.
stop paying your subscription to them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the hardest things to hire and solve for, can be solved for pretty instantly.
I don't think it replaces your salesperson entirely. I think the end of this stage, someone will still have to take over. I know ChatGPT, they still have human sales reps, which is just fascinating to me. So yeah, it's never going to replace the full circle of sales, but it will definitely assist in the first few phases, which is arguably the most irritating for any sales rep, is those first
100%.
few stages. So, Mikey, without further ado, where can guys go and install this bot on their site? Obviously, we've got our own bot that guys could use, but where else could they get one?
As you say, like we've doubled down or tripled down on building sales agents. So if you don't want to get one from us, there are like, build tools, I would say. So when we started our journey, we were building our own sales agents in ChatGPT and Claude, literally trying to hard code from scratch. And there's tools that make it simpler than that, like they give you definitely a leg up. So yeah, I think you can search ChatGPT or AI and ask for some good options. But I think at the end of the day, it will become one of the core things, and the more time you can spend on training your sales guy, just like you would train a human, the better. Yeah, not many more leverage things you can do with your time these days. We hope you enjoyed episode number 2 of season 2. If you want a super sales agent for your business, drop the Great Seth a message. Or if you want to battle yourself and go through the painstaking journey that we've been to get to where we are and build these super sales agents and do it yourself, go to ChatGPT, spend countless hours, years maybe, to try and figure out yourself. But if you want a fast shortcut, just come to the main man, Seth.
So I'm going to leave a link to our sales bot down below. Please go play with it. I'd love to read some of your conversations with it. Please try and break it. I'd love to see someone break it.